Hello and welcome back to International Yankee English. Today's video is a very compact, concise explanation of academic writing structure. So this is not specific to a certain kind of assignment or essay or report, but in general, what needs to be included and what you need to remember when you are writing something in academic writing. So if that sounds good to you, keep watching. Okay guys, so I am here at my university where I teach, and I am going to do an old school kind of whiteboard demonstration of academic writing structure. If you haven't already seen, I do have an 8-part writing series. You can go to my playlist and find academic writing series, and there I have really more comprehensive videos on the most important topics within academic writing. If you're still struggling, please do contact me. I have writing courses available, both self-study ones or also ones where you get my feedback. And in some instances, I am able to give one-on-one support as well, depending on your needs, my availability, your availability, etc. So don't hesitate to contact me. My information is in the description box. Now let's get started on the most important parts of an academic text. Okay, so you have 3 main parts. I think most people are familiar with it. You have an introduction, you have a body, and you have a conclusion. Now, generally with academic writing, this would also include at the end a reference list of some kind. So depending what style your institution requires from you, that could be APA, MLA, or Harvard, or Chicago manual style. There are several other different ones as well, but generally one of those ones I've just mentioned would be the ones that you are required to follow. So be sure to read your assignment instructions carefully, ask your teacher, and check with your university if there is information about the format that they use within the program where you are. Now, some of these things are applicable also for the IELTS academic writing task or even the general writing task. Or other language exams, but then others are not as important. So maybe you won't have an actual reference list on an IELTS writing task, but these different ideas of main important structural aspects still remain the same, more or less. So let's start with the introduction. Now, generally, I always draw the introduction as kind of a funnel, wide on top, and narrow on the bottom. Okay, so we have our funnel now here, and generally I will divide this into 3 parts. I've changed to blue since the black wasn't that dark. That's a little clearer, and here. Okay, so up here on the top, you can see in some of my academic writing videos some more information about how to write the very first sentence of your essay or report or text or whatever you want to call it. Generally, you will start either with a very formulated structure, or you will start with something called a hook. Okay, so I'll put here hook. And that would be something kind of catchy or interesting to get your reader a little bit curious about what they're about to read. In academic writing, though, it has to really be applicable to the subject at hand, and you have to cohesively and smoothly transition into your main idea. So after you have like a general introduction or interesting hook to your topic, you give a little bit more detail, and you start to get to an outline. I like to call this outline. So not an outline in the way of when you write an outline for your entire essay, but just in a couple of sentences, maybe even one sentence, you outline the things that are going to be covered in your paper, so that by the time the reader is almost done with reading your introduction, they know what they're going to find in your paper and more or less in what order. And then down here at the bottom of the funnel, your last sentence, or in some instances could be 2 sentences, is your thesis statement. TS for thesis statement. And the thesis statement is basically the main idea of your entire paper in one sentence. So if I just read that one sentence, the last one in your introduction, I know exactly what the main topics are in this paper and why they're the main topics. Okay, this is one of the most difficult parts of writing the entire essay, and it will usually be changed many times as you continue writing, because you'll find that some things actually are more or less important than you originally thought, and that's okay. So you don't need to know your thesis statement before you start writing, but a working thesis statement, or kind of like a goal of what your main idea is extremely important when you very first start writing, so you have somewhat of an idea of where you're going, which direction you're moving in. Okay guys, so after you have your introduction, you have what's called the body of your paper, and the body is generally, in essays at least, divided by paragraphs that start with a topic sentence, have some additional details or examples, and they finish with either a linking or summarizing sentence before moving into another paragraph. Now, reports or longer papers generally will have subsections and kind of subheadings in between, and that's how you will format it. Check with your assignment instructions. Generally shorter essays, anything between like 2 and 3 pages, will not have subheadings, but it could be that your teacher wants that, so make sure you read the instructions very carefully. I will talk now about basically essays where we ignore subsections or subheadings, and we will talk about the formation of your body paragraphs. Now, every body paragraph should have one main idea per paragraph. And the way that I like to divide it is by talking about Texas. So we have T, E, X, A, and S. Okay, Texas. The T in Texas is your topic sentence. So the first sentence in the paragraph should be introducing the topic of that paragraph. So it should be clear after you read the topic sentence what this paragraph is about. And that is why only one main idea per paragraph is super important. We'll lose the idea and lose the flow of the paper if you're trying to cover multiple topics within one paragraph. So try to stick to one main topic per paragraph, or you can do 2 closely linked ideas, but then you have to introduce them together and you have to address both of them in your paragraph and kind of tie it together by the end. Otherwise it gets confusing and it's no longer clear for the reader, right? Okay. Then we have the E. This can stand for evidence, and elaboration. Okay, so we want to promote showing examples, which is going to be your X, but using some evidence and some kind of elaboration, so going into detail on the things that are important for your topic. So we provide some evidence and some elaboration on the main topic, and we can do that by using examples. Examples are really important because if you don't have examples, then we kind of are just taking you for your word, or we are assuming that we know what you mean. And assumptions are really dangerous in academic writing because everybody has a different background and makes different associations with certain things. People even use words in different ways. So providing clear examples about the topic that you are elaborating on will really make it clearer for the reader. Also, you'll have more reliability if you're using examples that come from peer-reviewed research or some kind of reliable source. So it is also important to include that as well. And then for the A, this actually stands for analysis. And the analysis is basically the critical look at the things that you're saying, the examples you've given, the evidence you've provided, the elaboration, the details, looking at it from a more analytical viewpoint and commenting on it in that way. And also, what do the experts say in this field, right? What are the experts saying here? A direct quote or some statistics. So I like to include with the analysis, the A, also APA. That's a very popular referencing system. So maybe your school uses MLA or Harvard or something else, but it's kind of important to put an acronym to it so you can remember it a little bit easier. But your analysis, as well as the analysis of experts, and make sure that you include reliable sources when you include any kind of direct quotes or information from another source, that you reference it correctly, okay? Now the S is for summary. Okay, so the last sentence should kind of tie everything together, but what's important is if it is not the last paragraph in your actual essay, that you want to also link it to the next topic in some way, shape, or form. So you do want to summarize that everything from the paragraph kind of gets packed up nice and cleanly, but then also link it. So summarize and link to the next paragraph that you have. And this should be repeated for every single main idea or body paragraph that you have in your essay. This will be repeated. Okay, and on to the last part, the conclusion. This is a difficult one for students. Other than the thesis statement, I think the conclusion is actually one of the most difficult parts for a student to grasp and do well. To do it kind of passing or okay is not difficult, but to write a strong conclusion is very difficult. Why? Because often students feel like they've already put everything into their paper. What else is there to say? But conclusions are extremely important to a successful or strong academic paper, because you've now just provided so many details and so much information to the reader that they may have kind of lost track of the big picture. So you have to use that conclusion to kind of tie everything together again and summarize it, but not just repeating what you've already said in the paper, but doing it from a more analytical kind of higher standing, where you understand the material, you've presented all of your evidence and examples and elaboration in the body paragraphs, and now you can summarize it in a more analytical, concrete way. So it does tie your thesis statement, TS, to your body. So we do TS plus body. So the thesis statement really just presents the main ideas and what you're going to cover and a little bit of why. And then the body is what got into really the details, the nitty gritty. So you want to make sure that in the conclusion, you do summarize, but in doing so, you link the thesis statement to all of those extra details and information that you provided in the body. So there's a link there, and it's clear for the reader by the time they're done reading your conclusion that they understand how all of these different topics kind of come together. Now, if appropriate, you may be giving advice or recommendations. Based on the research that you did and the examples and analysis you provided throughout the body. That might be part of the assignment, or it might not be. It's important to know. It should be a little bit critical, use some critical analysis. So I'm going to do CA for that. So it's not that every writing piece has an opinion in it, because it doesn't necessarily. But writing a critical analysis versus your opinion are two entirely different things. If you would like a video on that, please comment below and I will try to find some time to do that as well. But these are the main things that you're going to have in your conclusion. And another really important thing to remember about conclusions is to not introduce any new information. So I'll put here, no new info. Now this is important, no new info, because it's the end of your paper. You're supposed to be tying everything together, wrapping it up, summarizing, and reiterating what is important and why. So if you now start on a new topic, then you have to write further. You have to do another body count. It's not a conclusion. Okay, so all of your new information should come in your body paragraphs, and the conclusion is tying all of that together. So don't include new information that you didn't address in the body. If you didn't include it in the body, don't address it in the conclusion. That is maybe for another time. If you have a discussion-led thesis statement, or the main idea is to simply raise ideas, get ideas, raise questions, and to discuss it, then it could be possible that you may say points for future consideration, could be, and then that would be maybe some new ideas. But that would be very specific to the assignment instructions if you do that, okay? So please be mindful of that. And just to give you an idea of how long both the introduction and the conclusion should be, it's generally about 8 to 10% of your entire paper, okay? So let's say your entire paper was 1,000 words, then you shouldn't have more than 100 words in your introduction and or in your conclusion. Now, these are not hard and fast rules, but they are good guidelines to follow to make sure that there is a good balance between the introduction and conclusion paragraphs and the body paragraphs. Okay guys, that is all I have for you today. I have plenty of videos on APA referencing, so if you want to know about in-text citations or reference lists, you can go ahead to my writing playlist. Send me an email, info@internationalyankee.com, if you are interested in taking a writing course with me or getting some one-on-one instruction, or if you just want some updates from our community and from my online course availability, send me an email at info@internationalyankee.com, and I will add you to our mailing list, and you will get weekly updates on what we have going on. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye.